In this week's Parsha, we have a Rashi that seems to be very similar to a Gemara, but once we look more carefully, we'll realize that Rashi is actually saying something quite different to the Gemara. In the beginning of the Parsha, we have the story where Yaakov leaves Beersheva. Yaakov is lying down and he has a dream, and Hashem in his dream says to him, "Ha'aretz asher ata shoichev aleh," the land that you are lying upon, "Lecho etnenu lezarecha," I'm going to give it to you and your children. Now the Gemara asks on these words, the land that you're lying on, that's what Hashem is going to give to Yaakov Avinu and his children. What's so great about that? As Rashi explains, a person has a space of 4 amos. That's what Hashem is promising him, just this little space to give to his children. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, this teaches us that Hashem had actually folded all of Eretz Yisrael, put it under Yaakov Avinu, so that it should be easier for his children later to conquer Eretz Yisrael. Rashi there explains, just like the 4 cubits that a person is lying on is obviously an easy space for him to be able to conquer, in a similar way, all of Eretz Yisrael will be easier for for the Yidden to conquer. Now, Rashi in Chumash quotes the word shoichev oleh that you're lying upon, and Rashi says Hashem folded all of Eretz Yisrael under him. Ramaz lo is giving him a hint that it will be easy for his children to conquer. So it sounds very similar. And the Mefarshim explain that what was bothering Rashi is the same question that was bothering the Gemara. What's so great about promising Yaakov the land that he's lying on, which is a very tiny area? And this is why Rashi is answering, so that it should be easier for the children to conquer. But, says the Rebbe, the problems with this is as follows. Number one, in the Gemara, when the Gemara says so that it should be easier for his children to conquer, Rashi there explains it should be as easy as the Daled Amos of a person. That means Rashi needs to explain why it's easier. If Rashi needs to explain that in the Gemara, why isn't Rashi explaining it to the Ben Chamish Lemikra here? Why does Rashi just say so that it should be easy? The Rebbe also asks, if the problem in the pasuk is like, what's the chiddush, like what's so great about saying that the land that you're lying on, you're going to get if it's such a small area, then in the Dibur HaMaschil, Rashi should have quoted the word ha'aretz asher ata shoichev aleh, not just the word shoichev aleh. The main question is about this land that's being promised. This area of land is a very small area. Some other things we need to understand, says the Rebbe. In the actual Rashi, where Rashi says Hashem is hinting him that it's going to be easy for his children to conquer, the Gemara says that Hashem put all of Eretz Yisrael under Yaakov Avinu so that it will be easier for his children to conquer. In other words, the point of this miracle caused that in the future it will be easier for the Yidden to conquer Eretz Yisrael. But Rashi says different. Rashi is saying Hashem is hinting to him that it will be easy, which sounds like that's not what's causing it to be easy. Hashem is just informing him and giving him a hint that it's going to be easy. So just in order to give a hint, Hashem has to perform such a tremendous miracle to put all of Eretz Yisrael under him? If it's only about saying the future, what's going to happen, Hashem can just tell him what's going to happen. It will be easy for your children. The Rebbe asks another question. By Avraham Avinu we find that Hashem says to him, Kum ishalech ba'aretz, walk the whole land, the length and the breadth. The Gemara says something very similar there as well, so that it should be easier for his children to conquer. There, on that pasuk, Rashi doesn't say a word. Rashi doesn't say that it should be easier for the Yidden to conquer. Simply, Rashi doesn't bring it because it's difficult to say in Pshutei Shal Mikra that what the father is walking now, the length and the breadth of the land, that's going to make it in the future, generations later, easier for the children. So why is it that over here Rashi is saying that it is a hint that it will be easier for his children to conquer? Says the Rebbe, the explanation of all of this is, in Pshutei Shal Mikra, there was actually never a question on the words, Ha'aretz asher ata shoichev oleh, that is, how could you possibly just be promising one little area of Daled Amos? Because simply the words Ha'aretz asher ata shoichev oleh means the land, the whole land, Eretz Yisrael. The land that you're lying on is referring to the whole land. The Rebbe gives an example from a different pasuk by Avraham Avinu, where Hashem says to Avraham Avinu, the whole land that you see I'm going to give you. Clearly, it's not restricted just to the area that Avraham Avinu sees. It means the land that you see, I'm going to be giving you this land, referring to the whole land. So what was bothering Rashi in our pasuk? What was bothering Rashi in the pasuk is only the word shoichev oleha, and that's the Dibur HaMaschil in Rashi. Hashem is telling Yaakov Avinu, I'm going to give you this land. Why is it relevant to say the land that you're lying on? He could just say, Haaretz Hazois, this land. And this is what Rashi is now teaching us. Rashi says what happened over here was Hashem put all of Eretz Yisrael under him. Meaning, by Hashem saying, Haaretz Asherat Hashoichev Aleh, and he's lying on the whole land, Hashem is giving him a sign, not which land we're talking about. Hashem is giving him a sign of his ownership of the whole land of Eretz Yisrael. He is now lying on the whole of Eretz Yisrael. It's all his. By Avraham Avinu, he was told, walk the whole land. By Yaakov, it's in a totally different way. The whole land is being put under him. However, says the Rebbe, so that's the first part of Rashi. The first part of Rashi is just that Hashem gave him the whole land, putting it under him. So what's the continuation of Rashi? Because the question becomes, what was achieved by this? By Yaakov, even as far as Yaakov is concerned, what was actually achieved by Hashem putting it all under him? Going back to Avraham Avinu for a minute. When Hashem told Avraham Avinu, go across the whole land, that means by him going across the whole land, he's feeling as if he has ownership. He could walk wherever he wants, it's all his, no one could stop him, etc. But seemingly by Yaakov Avinu, he isn't doing anything. Hashem put the whole thing under him, no one is even aware of it, no one sees it. What was achieved by the whole land being under him? And this is what Rashi is saying. Hashem is giving him a hint over here. In other words, again, there's one thing that was put under him, so now he has ownership over it. But there's a remez here. There's a point over here for Yaakov. There's a remez over here that it will be easy for his children to conquer Eretz Yisrael. In other words, that Hashem is saying to him, I'm giving you the ownership in what kind of way? In a way that you don't even have to do anything. You're just lying there and Hashem is doing it all for you. Hashem is giving it all to you. Not like by Avraham Avinu where he had to do something. He had to walk around Eretz Yisrael. The Rebbe says, in truth, when we look now at Rashi, compared to the Gemara, Rashi is telling us something much greater chiddush than in the Gemara. According to the Gemara, the Yidden are going to have to do something. They're going to have to go and conquer. It's going to be easy. According to Rashi, there is no bother at all. There's nothing even that they have to do. In other words, it's similar to Yaakov Avinu just lying there, and Hashem is doing everything. The Rebbe gives an example of Lipskier HaMelech that turned to Hashem and said, I'm going to go to sleep and you fight my wars for me. In other words, it's sufficient, it's enough that the Yidden are just lying on Eretz Yisrael and all the Goyim come along and admit and agree that all of Eretz Yisrael belongs to Am Yisrael. The Rebbe now turns to the Pnimi Yisrael, to the Chassidus of all of this. The Mendel Rebbe, whose Geula is on Yud Kislev, explains that we know that in the Neshama there are various different parts. The essence of the Neshama is called the Yechida, and the Yechida spreads and extends itself in the Daled Amos of the person, in the 4 cubits of the person. Says the Rebbe. So when Hashem is folding all of Eretz Yisrael in the Daled Amos under Yaakov Avinu, with this Hashem is connecting Yaakov's ownership and all of the Yidden's ownership with this level of Yechida. And that's why it becomes easy to conquer. Why? Chassidus explains that for other parts of the neshama there can be certain opposition, certain klipa, Yetzirah, etc. Against the Yechida, there can never be any opposition. And this is what's being said over here, that Eretz Yisrael is now connected to the Yechida of Yidden, and therefore no one can get up against the Yidden. Says that another amazing thing we have in Rashi compared to the Gemara. In the Gemara says, Hashem put all of Eretz Yisrael under Yaakov so that it should be easier for his children to conquer. It means Hashem is giving the koyach, but the Yidden still have to decide whether they want to go ahead and conquer or not. It doesn't say clearly they will go and conquer it. In fact, says that Rabbi Rahman al-Itzlan, we see Yidden today that think that Eretz Yisrael doesn't belong to them. Rashi in the beginning of Chumash has to deal with Goyim arguing that Eretz Yisrael is not the Yidden's, and then we tell them that Hashem created the whole world, etc. But at least then the Goyim listen. But now Rahman al-Itzlan says that there's some Yidden even that think that way. So going back to what we're saying, that there could be a situation, according to the Gemara, it's just being told, if you'll go fight, it'll be easy. But Rashi over here is saying no. Ramaz lo Hashem is hinting to Yaakov Avinu that it will be easy for the Yidden to get it. In other words, Hashem is promising that there's absolutely no question the Yidden will get it, and in a very, very easy way, because ultimately we know the Torah promised that Soif Yisrael asas tshuva b'soif galus, and the Yidden will eventually do tshuva, or miyad hey nigal, and immediately will be redeemed.